Hey guys, my name is Wildkard and welcome back to my channel, and thank you for subscribing. Now, I know you are here for the amazing review I'm about to do for Argentina versus South Africa Game 2 Rugby Championship. But before I get on with that, there is something very, very important that I need to talk about, that we need to talk about, whether you're a Springbok fan, you're an Argentina fan, hey, you might even be an England fan. This is really important we need to talk about because the future of the Rugby Championship is on the line, and this is, I am really disgusted. Is probably the way, the words that best describe how I feel right now about what the All Blacks has done for the Rugby Championship. So you probably saw the news, and if you watched my previous videos, the All Blacks basically, yesterday, just randomly announced they're going to pull out from the Bledisloe Cup next week against Australia, okay? Now, everyone, all of you knows that I can't wait to watch the Wallabies get flogged again, okay? And that's not the case. Not the case, okay? It's not the fact that I really want to see the Wallabies get flogged again. It's the fact that the All Blacks pulled out, in my opinion, for sinister reasons, okay? So first of all, if you're a Springbok fan, or you're a Wallaby fan, or if you're a New Zealand fan, you would know that all of our unions are in great financial strife. The Springboks, the Lions took with no tourism, is big loss in their books. The Springboks has been struggling for many years now, and I've looked at their books actually. You guys actually are losing a little bit of money, but not too much. So there's a bit of recovery from the Rugby World Cup where you've done a lot of good, managing decisions, made a bit of money there. But the Lions tour was something that the Springboks really wanted to make a lot of money on, that they basically not able to capitalize on the visiting crowd. The All Blacks has been consistently losing money for the last 4 years now, since the last time they made money was the Lions tour. So they've been losing money since 2017. Big chunks of money on financial hedges that I don't even understand. I don't think the people that runs the All Blacks knows what they're doing. They're losing like millions of dollars in financial hedges, in foreign exchange hedges. So I have no idea how they're losing that much money. And Australian rugby, the game is really dying a lot in Australia. The viewership is down, and Rugby Australia losing the deal with Fox Sport and having to renegotiate a deal with Channel 9 with a lower package. So Rugby Australia is also in a lot of financial strife. So with that in mind, the All Blacks pulling out of the Perth means that Australia has to take the bill. Now that the tickets has been sold, they're gonna either have to sell them, it's been refunded, they either have to refund it, or if they go back to play later on, who knows, right? So basically, the Australia has to cop some kind of. If they go back on a later day, is the stadium still gonna be available? If it is Australia, Rugby Australia gonna pay a fine? Is it that? So I don't know. So there's Australia gonna have to pay a bill for delaying this game, right? And New Zealand has done this basically according to the article without consultation to Australia, right? And they basically tweeted out in social media that they're not coming anymore, despite the fact that Australia went over to New Zealand, to Wellington, 2 weeks in advance to quarantine. Now the All Blacks is yeah, screw it. We don't want to leave the country because we can't come back anymore. Their excuse is that if they leave the country in New Zealand, they're not going to be able to get back till November after the whole tour season is done. And Dave Rennie's yeah, sure. Some of our players hasn't been back home for 15 months. Some of our players has been away for the entire duration of the pandemic. It's just preposterous. Every other sport is able to carry on in the bubble without any dramas. For some reason, the All Blacks think this is a huge issue. They have to cancel games against the Springboks at home and potentially cancel or postpone the Bledisloe Cup game next week. So they've already postponed it. They say postponed. Maybe they'll cancel later. No one knows, right? And I think there's a more sinister reason behind this, by the way. The All Blacks has been trying to sell off 12% of the equity to a private equity firm in the United States called Silver Lake, okay? And this has been talked about for a long time. And this deal is currently basically green-lit across the board except for a few players. So the All Blacks captain Sam Kane, And some other players, basically, they're under the players' agreement that they have a say in whether or not this is to be sold. So they basically are blocking the sales because they're saying that the All Blacks basically is a marriage tradition. You can't sell that, which I do agree. You cannot sell the All Blacks. It's a national treasure, just like we can't sell Uluru because that's the national treasure of Australia. If you want it, you can't have it. No matter how much money you offer, you simply cannot have it. Uluru is Australian property, okay? You can't have it. Same with the All Blacks. You can't have it. No matter how much money they offer, you can't have it. And so it's preposterous to even mention that they want to sell it. And also, the reason they're selling it, right? If you think about it, you're watching this, you have a brain, you can think about it. The people that wants to sell this because the All Blacks is losing money is the result of their own poor management. And now they want to sell it and get a paycheck for selling the business and potentially get a pay rise after getting an influx of cash in the business, right? They're going to get a cut out of this sales deal despite the fact that they're the people that ran the business into the ground. Now, you tell me, in what world does the greatest sporting team, most successful sporting team on the planet, the New Zealand All Blacks, is running out of money? In what world does that make sense to you? You have to be the most incompetent bunch of morons to run this sporting team into bankruptcy. And the morons are running this team into bankruptcy. They realize it's not happening. It's not happening fast enough because they can't push a deal through, right? So they've cancelled the Springbok game in New Zealand. They postponed the Aussie game in Australia as an excuse to run the business into bankruptcy, forcing the team to be sold, right? So they can get a cut out of the deal. These people should be in jail. They need to be investigated. They need to be put in jail, the people from running the New Zealand Rugby. Seriously, these people are absolute cancer of the sport. And Australia and the Springboks are going to be paying for this as well. Because of these people, they wanted to get paid for themselves because they want to sell it for their own payday. This is preposterous. If you're watching this in New Zealand especially, don't let them do this. Just based on principle, the All Blacks cannot be sold. And and what they're doing now is they're literally trying to bankrupt the business so they can get paid for making the sale. If you're in New Zealand, I'm not a Kiwi, okay? If I'm in New Zealand, I will be rioting over these people. I'll be making sure all these board members gets fired ASAP. Anyway, speaking of, let's get this out of the way. Speaking of this, let's get rid of this. I'm done. I'm just yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll have a chat with you there. But let's talk about something that's more important. Let's cheer up a little bit. Let's talk about Argentina versus Springbok. This was technically an Argentina home game. And first up, I have to say that the Springboks has done really well with their CGI work, okay? I just noticed as well that the Springboks were able to do some really good CGI around the stadium, okay? I'm going to put this up, see if you can see it. So you can see that there's nothing on the stands there, right? There's nothing there on the seats, and there's nothing on the grass, right? But they're able to CGI the commercials or the advertising for Argentina onto these like seamlessly onto the field. Look at that. That's all CGI'd. And it looks so good. Look like actual, like, painted, like, look like actual painted, like, or banners that's been hung up on the side, right? Like, that is quite impressive. And you wouldn't even notice it if you're watching the game. The camera will pan around, and these ads will just be stationary. They don't move. They just look like it's been painted there. Like, especially the ground effects, they look really good. They look like the spray painted on the ground. They look amazing. So they've managed to turn this whole stadium, Nelson Mandela Bay, into the Argentinian home base with all the sponsors for the Argentina plastered all over the place with CGI. So I am very impressed. I am very, very impressed with the look at this is what it looks like. And so in some frames, the cameras don't have the CGI, but in the main shots, it has the CGI with all the overlay on it. Actually looks quite good. So bravo to the South African rugby. This looks quite good. So this game was pretty, I guess, there was a lot of penalties in the first half. Okay, it's a game of two halves again. A lot of penalties in the first half. The Springboks did try to score a little bit, put a pressure on, try to go for tries a few times, but eventually the Argentinians were just giving away penalties, and the Springboks just couldn't resist. They just couldn't resist that 3 points. So in the first half, the Springboks went for a lot of kicking and got all of their points from 3-pointers. But in the second half, especially at the start, the Springboks came out and really put the hammer down against Argentina and put on, like, when they actually ran the ball, the Springboks in the second half looked just sublime. Like, they're getting over the advantage line, really hard running, a lot of really beautiful angles running by the Springboks. They were actually able to score 2 spectacular tries in the second half. However, the Argentinians, not to put them down at all, they were also had a few good chances, especially in the second half, to score tries, but it's just like tiny little handling errors, like forward passes, obstructions, that really messed up their opportunities in the second half. Eventually, the Argentinians were able to get a try in like the 85th minute or something. The game just kept on playing when he was up. On like the 85th minute or something, to finally score a try to get themselves on the ball to finish 10 points to 29 for the full time. Now, I have to say, I did expect the Springboks to blow the Argentinians out of water for this game, especially when Argentina was playing largely of their reserve side on the field. The lineouts were kind of like bad for both teams, for both halves. Ibn Isabeth not playing for the Springboks really maybe hurt them a little bit. Whilst Argentina lineout was under a lot of pressure from Lou Diega. Oh man, I'm just getting so hot in this room after that yelling session about the All Blacks. Excuse me, guys. Just let me cool off a little bit. Yeah, so Lou Diego were able to get a few steals for the Springboks as well against the lineouts, whereas the scrummaging has been pretty even in the first half, but second half, I did expect the Kitov and Malherbe to just blow the Argentinian scrum off the water in the second half, but that wasn't really the case. A bit of 50-50 again, and maybe Argentina had a little bit of advantage over Malherbe in the second half as well. And also, Nayake got injured, came off the field in the first half, so maybe Kitov had to play pretty much the entire match. That may have affected his ability to dominate in the second half, because he did have to play like 30 minutes in the first half as well. So yeah, maybe a bit of work there for the Argentinians. And the Springboks, when they did run the ball, they looked really good, but really they didn't really like use it that much. Or like when the Springbok backline got the ball, it's like electrifying. Like every time they got the ball, you think someone's gonna go make a break and score a try. It was just so electrifying, but they just didn't really capitalize on that like very much. So that's probably a little bit of criticism for me. I felt like they could probably utilize their backline a little bit more, and really like utilize that talent a little bit better when they did have the opportunities. So overall, the game was 1 try to 2 tries and a lot of penalty points for the Springboks. They are in the dominant had the dominance over the Argentinians. So 320 runs for Argentina despite having fewer points. The Springboks 298, 101 carries for the Argentinians, 82 for the Springboks. Turnovers conceded, 12 for Argentina, 13 for the Springboks. Springboks actually conceded more than the Argentinians. So at halftime, it was 2 turnovers on each side. So in the second half, both teams' turnovers conceded just ballooned in the second half. So yeah, like there's a lot of that needs to be worked on. It's just like fell off for both teams in that regards. Tackles, 103 for Argentina, 18 missed tackles. And the Springboks defense is just absolute solid brick wall made of titanium. 144 tackles and 9 missed tackles. In the halftime, the tackle count was 47 to Argentina, 54 for the Springboks, 5 missed tackles to Argentina, and only 1 for the Springboks. So yeah, so the missed tackle really ballooned as well especially for the Pumas. Kicks in play, 24 to 43 again for the Springboks. That is so much kicking. And all of that came from the second half as well. So halftime kicking was 13 to Argentina and only 19 to the Springboks, which is still a lot, but like it just, again, ballooned a lot more, like 24 kicks in the second half. That's more kicking in a half game than most teams do in an entire game. So yeah, a lot of high balls once again this game. Perfect kicking from Handré Pollard, something that I was really looking forward to see if he can keep that consistency in the second half. And he did, which was really, really impressive. During the Lions tour, his consistency really fell off in the second half. And they had to literally bring in Monet Stein to get the kicking back on track. But yeah, so it's good to see him getting 100%. Miotti missed the 2 really long range kicks. Again, his kicking hasn't been that great overall. Overall, lineouts has been pretty bad for both teams. In my opinion, a bit messy for both teams. And scrums, it says here Argentina lost 1 scrum, but I think they're pretty sure the Springboks had conceded short on penalties in scrum time as well in the second half, especially in the second half. Penalties conceded 21 penalties against Argentina, 2 yellow cards, and 11 penalties against the Springboks. So much better in that. And yeah, the first half penalties was just outrageous. Argentina already conceded 13 penalties in the first half. So yeah, really, really bad. And a yellow card in the first half as well. So the second yellow card was in the extra time, basically, in the second half. Anyway, that's the overview. Let's have a look at what the exact details are for this game. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit shorter because after my 8-minute rant about the All Blacks. So, right from the start, for the first about 7 minutes or so, Argentina, and should be a bit back forward. Both teams are giving away penalties a bit, but Argentina seems to have a little bit of advantage over the Springboks. Not until the 9th minute, where the Springboks finally able to stabilize and get themselves in a solid position. There was a 5 meters line out. So Springboks basically had a kickable penalty. They wanted to test Argentina defense. They kicked the ball out for a line out. So repeated penalties against Argentina. The Springboks goes, okay, we're gonna go more lineouts again. So eventually the Springboks ended up with a 5 meter lineout. They send the lineout in. They try to set up for a more, but the Argentinians were offside. And so the Springboks played on a couple phases. This was 5 meters out. They didn't really make much out of it. Eventually, Argentina was penalized again for not rolling away by sealing off the ball. And this was almost 10 minutes into the game now, and the Springboks has been attacking the Argentina line with, I think this was already like second penalty lineouts, and the Springboks says, okay, enough is enough, we'll take 3. I thought they probably could have kept going because they could have probably forced that yellow card a little bit earlier, but they just went, all right, we've been here for quite a while, almost 5 minutes now. Let's just get the 3. So Handré Pollard kicks the first 3 points. 10 minutes into the game. 12 minutes in, the Nyake seems to have hurt his leg. Look a little bit concerning because Nyake is a big critical piece of the puzzle for the Springbok front row. Kitsoff gets on the field for the loose air position, so Kitsoff is already on the field. 12 minutes into the game. A few minutes later, on the 15th minute, there was a lot of high ball pressure from both teams and a lot of drop balls from both teams as well. Eventually, the Springboks were able to get the advantage with an Argentina drop ball inside the Argentina 40. And a couple of minutes later, there was a scrum, and after the Springboks get the scrum out, the Argentina was penalized for offside. And Springboks was well inside kicking range. Handré Pollard kind of kicks this one. 6 points to 0. 21 minutes into the game. Right from the kickoff, after this 3 points was taken, the Jasper Visa gets penalized for playing the ball on the ground from the kickoff, and it was right in front. So Miotti takes the 3 points. Argentina gets back onto the board. Hang on, sorry. Yeah, sorry, no, I actually missed one. So, before this was happened, so anyway, the Springboks actually scored another 3 points when this happened. So there was a penalty to the Springboks before this. The Springboks kicks the ball out for a 20-meter line out. There's a 7, so they brought the line out. They set the maul up on the line out. The Argentina number 7 gets penalized for entering the maul from the side, and Springboks takes another 3 here. So there's 9 points to nil at this point. And then right from the kickoff from after this one is where Jasper Wiese gets penalized for playing the ball on the ground from the kickoff, and Miotti converts that one to get the Argentina 3 points back on the board. A few minutes later, so right from after this, literally another kickoff, literally like a play or so later, Argentina gets penalized for like tackling a player in the air. I think Jasper Wiese was in the air and he gets hit or something. But anyway, or maybe it was a player that gets tackled without a ball. But there was a lot of mess, and Argentina was penalized again. And this time, this is 30 minutes now, and the referee's like, okay, enough is time. We've been giving, it's given Argentina an official warning. Next person's gonna go into the bin, okay? And literally right away, Argentina gives away a penalty. So the box kicks the ball out from the penalty. There was a 35-meter line out. The line out comes in, set up for a maul, and the Argentina number 8, it's penalized for offside, yellow card. And so at this point, I thought the Springboks should have gone for 7 because they just got a yellow card inside the Argentina 22, just outside the Argentina 22, should go for a 5-meter line out, especially when the Argentina has a number 8 in the bin, which is their forward, one of their jumpers in the bin. Or not a jumper, one of the lifters in the bin. So they should definitely could have scored a try with a more here, but they opted for 3. So I thought the decision making was really poor here for the Springboks. They should definitely capitalize this for a free more try here, and they didn't go for that. On the 39th minute, the last minute of the game, Argentina had a 50-meter line out, and Malcolm Marx collapsed the maul from the line out Argentina set up, and the Argentina had a penalty. They tried a 50-meter attempt for the goal, just inside 50, actually like 49, and Miotti, just didn't have the accuracy. He barely had the distance, and he didn't have the accuracy, missed the goal. So halftime score, only 3 points to Argentina, 15 points to Springboks. And also this penalty was kicked just to run the clock down a little bit, so because Argentina did have one person in the bin. Halftime stats, I've already gone through them. The run meters, the 61 run meters for Argentina, 120 to the Springboks. 2 turnovers conceded for both teams at halftime. The main thing that was to note at halftime is the penalty count. Argentina 13 penalties at halftime already, and only 6 for the Springboks. Second half starts. The Springbok kind of like the Argentina had a kickoff, and they were kind of like really like trying to make a play, and then straight away they did actually get the ball on their side, and the Argentinians just look like even the commentators mentioned this. They just look like, oh, got the ball. What do we do? They just look like they don't know what they're gonna do when they had the ball. They won the ball from the kickoff, and they just like knock on the ball, right? It's almost like, oh God, we got the ball back. What do we do now? And then suddenly the ball is thrown at somebody and it's knocked on, right? It was really, really kind of like, kind of funny to see. A couple of minutes later, the Argentina gets a penalty, 14 meters out, 15 meters in from the sideline. And they opted for another 3 points. I thought Argentina could probably build that momentum a little bit and go for a try here, but they opted for 3 points. I think because one of the players was still in the bin with like a minute left or something. They could have probably gone for a line out and the play would have come back on. But anyway, Miotti takes a 3. Again, it was just like, he missed. There's a good strike, but he just missed it. Goalpost on the side. This could have been a kickable. This would have been kickable if this was Sanchez, okay? So this was on a bit of angle, but it's much easier kick than the previous one that he missed. 3 minutes later, after this kick, the Springboks gets the ascendancy. Man, this looked good. This was something that everybody wanted to see, and they didn't do enough this game. They should definitely do more of this. So there was a penalty against Argentina. The Springboks had an attacking line out, 14 meters out from the Argentina line. The ball comes out, Kobus Reinach, a beautiful inside ball to Cheslin Kobe coming in from the blind side on the line out. He just crashes through, like just literally like trying to run over a player. The side ball, Cheslin trying to run over a player. And then the Springboks is immediately on the front foot. There was a lot of really good running. If I Damien Delende was just like running the ball forward, take the ball forward another 10 meters. I think Lukamu Yuan had a good run. Copus Reinhardt took a nice dart himself, just really piling on the pressure. Suddenly the Springboks went from 40 meters out to 5 meters out from the Argentina try line. And then seven phases later, took only 7 phases, and they had a penalty for the scrambling Argentina defense being offside. But the Springboks didn't care about the offside. Quick ball out, and this was a beautiful play as well. Reinhardt goes to, I think, Willy Leroux. Willy Leroux gets the ball. He passes it to Handré Pollard, and he loops around behind Pollard. Pollard takes on the defense, loops around, and Pollard passes the ball to Willy Leroux again. Willy Leroux loops around behind, runs around Pollard from the outside, draws 2 players, saw wide open space out wide with Mapimpi out wide by himself. Just a big long pass to Mapimpi. Mapimpi runs in, puts the ball down. Easy try. And this try was just, beautiful play. Beautiful, Springboks just looked so good here. It was just beautiful to watch here. And despite this was in the corner, Handré Pollard slots this one quite easily. 3 points to 12. That's kicking is really, really on point this time. For Miotti, things kind of got worse. Just small mistakes here and there. And his attack just really didn't go anywhere following this try. And on the 51st minute, about 6 minutes later after the try was scored, just really sloppy by Miotti, in fact, by the Argentinians overall. There was another penalty against Argentina, and the Springboks takes the ball to a 5-meter line out. Okay, the ball comes in, the ball that goes long ball to the jumper at the back, comes down, set up for a maul. There was some pretty good defense from the Argentinians. It looked like the maul wasn't going anywhere. In fact, it was going back, but the Springbok just set up like the perfect platform. The rolling maul, the rolling part of the maul comes in, he rolls, and literally the Argentinian defense just split in pieces. And it literally looked like the part in the Red Sea, right? Just like immediately the Argentinian forward just split up in like all over the place. And there was a nice setup with, I think the back row was, Diego, Scalisi, and then there was one more person, but set up this beautiful platform for Malcolm Marx to go over plus the try down. Like, it was just like beautiful setup. Maybe a little bit shepherding because technically it looked like the players that split it up, like the rolling more came through, they split in half. It looked like the players weren't attached to any Argentinian players, so it looked like there could have been obstruction there. That could have been a thing, but the referee didn't call it. So yeah, Malcolm Marx goes in for a try. A little bit of controversy there. In my opinion, I thought that could have been shepherding. Some referees would have called that obstruction because you're completely detached and then you ran into defenders essentially. But nevertheless, the Springboks scores here, and Handré Pollard converts this one, 3 points to 29. And there was a lot more attacking by the Springboks after this. And there was a really good running by the Springboks as well, but they were just getting there, but not quite getting there for a try for the next period of the game. And Argentina also had some good chances. They really built a lot of pressure upon the Springboks, but the Springbok defense was so good. Under so much pressure, Argentina could not crack for about 10-15 minutes. On the 71st minute, Hendrikse gets on the field, the substitution halfback. He gets tackled following making a box kick, and he landed awkwardly on his leg. He's taken off the field on a stretcher. So that's a little bit concerning for the Springboks because he's already the Springboks already has 2 injured halfbacks, and he's the 3rd injured halfback. So Springboks now has to bring out a 5th injury halfback to replace this. So Hendrikse is already the 4th. So Fath is injured. Fath de Klerk's injured. Herschel Jansch is injured, and now Hendrikse is injured, so there's already 3 injured, so Springbok has to bring on a fifth halfback for the team. So he goes off the field, and at this point, the Springbok has already substituted all of their players, so they have no more substitution left, so they have to play with 1 player less for the last 10 minutes. And Cheslin, the cyborg Kobe, is playing. They just chucked him into the halfback position, essentially. They're just like, yeah, okay, you look like one. Kobe, you look like a halfback. Just get in there, mate. Just get in there. Don't worry about it. I'm pretty sure Kobe he can actually play 5'8" as well. So if Andre Pollard gets taken out, he would have been taken and put in. He's a cyborg, right? Like he can do anything he wants. He can probably play tie forward. Yeah, he can probably play a tight head prop. So as far as I know, he's just he can just do anything, right? So Cheslin Kobe is in for the halfback position. He's done pretty good. I didn't see any issues. He's a cyborg. I mean, of course, when you have a computer chip in your head, what you can't do, right? Anyway, a few minutes later, 75th minute, there was a big Malherbe is kind of struggling a little bit against the Argentinian scrums in the second half. There's a bit of a short on penalty against the Springboks. On the 76th minute, Wildkard Smith earns a penalty for the Springboks after Argentina winning that scrum, kind of like half-arm scrum. What's his name? Wildkard Smith gets the ball, turnover, the breakdown, and this was very kickable right at center inside the Pumas, just outside the Pumas 22. But the Springboks wanted to go for a try because they want that bonus point, right? They kicked the ball out for 5-meter line out, and the ball was overthrown, and the Pumas steals it. So there was I thought Bunabi would have done better in the second half than Malcolm Marks, but yeah, the front, I really overestimated how good the Springbok front rowers are on the bench. Very uncharacteristic. Maybe because even Isabeth isn't here, so maybe that not really clicking because Isabeth is such a huge core piece of the puzzle for the Springbok lineout. So yeah, Isabeth is not playing, so he's getting a break. So that was another lost lineout. They could have scored a try there. And then on the 78th minute, Andre Pollard tried to do something really tricky. He tried to do a little chip over the top, but the chip was so bad, he literally just went over the head of one player, and the Argentina just recovered the ball with a counter attack, and they sprint the ball out wide to Sanchez is on the field for Miotti at the moment, and Sanchez ran down the sideline, the ball came back in, and the Argentinian players just runs into their own player, and then the referee didn't initially call for the obstruction. The play played on, and then Argentina spread the ball out wide. Looked like Argentina was going to score out wide, and the referee blows the whistle. The final pass, the winger on the sideline, who had no one in front of him, could have been a try, was a forward pass. So, and the referee goes back, had a look at the replay as well. There was an obstruction where Argentinian player ran into their own player. So, yeah, could have been a try here. Just small little errors there cost them a try. And then Argentina tried to go for a try again. So on the 80th minute, Argentina decides to continue their momentum from this attack. They started running from their own 50. It was just so there was some really good hands back and forth. Eventually, one of the Argentinian wingers, I think it was Cubelli. I think it's Cubelli. Anyway, he ran down the sideline, right? He had one player inside supporting him, and there was two Springboks players just chasing him down. He was about 5 meters out as two Springboks players sweeps across for the cover. He throws the ball back in field, and I thought for sure this was a try. The player inside the field looked like he called the ball. Lukamio's arm just magically strips the ball off this player. I don't even know what happened. Lukamio's arm was he looked like he overran the defense too, right? So he was running this way, and the ball passes in front of him to the player next to him. So Lukamio's arm turns around, reaches out, look like he's not going to make the tackle, he's in such a poor position. But instead of making the tackle, he just rips the ball out. How did that happen? I was for sure. I was surely that's a try. And it didn't score. So Lukamio's rips the ball. And this was literally a meter out from the try line, right? And Lukamio's gets the ball. He tries to run the ball out. But the Andre Pollard eventually tries to kick the ball out. And after he makes the clearance kick, the Argentina Lavanini puts a late shot onto Pollard and gets yellow carded on the 80th minute of the game. So the Springboks, after getting this penalty, wants to go for a bonus point. So they kick the ball out for a 40-meter line out inside the Springbok half. 2 phases later, the Argentina wins a penalty at the breakdown. So Argentina now gets a chance to go for a try. So they kick the ball out on for a 35-meter line out. The ball gets overthrown, but the Springboks who try to catch it knocks it on, and then the Springboks gets penalized for offside after the advantage was given to Argentina. So Argentina goes again. On the 84th minute, Argentina kicks the ball out for a 5-meter line out. The ball goes to the front, set up and more, wasn't going anywhere. 2 crash balls. Eventually, the third one, Pablo Materes runs in a freight train speed, catches the ball, smacks himself into the defensive line, spins around, plants the ball down, finally gets a try on the 84, what's the official time? 87th! 87th minute is the official time. Or 85, 87. 87 is a kick. 85th. On the 85th minute, Pablo Materes goes in for Argentina's only try this game. 10 points to 29. Pretty good game. And yeah. Whew. No more rugby this next week. I don't know. I have to come up with some content for you guys before. Yeah. But yeah, I'm really disappointed. If you are a Kiwi watching this, please, please, please make sure that the scumbags at the New Zealand Rugby don't get away with this. This is horrendous for all of our unions. Horrendous for the Springboks. Horrendous for the Pumas. Horrendous for Australia. And most and foremost, horrendous for the All Blacks. They're literally running the business into the ground at the cost of all of us. Okay? So they can get paid for selling the All Blacks to the Americans. So don't let them do this. Make sure this doesn't happen. Please, 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 if you're a New Zealander, do whatever you can to stop this from happening. And yeah, this is a disgrace of rugby. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next week for some news. Cheers.